in that we call our motivation. And especially remember the precious opportunity we have and that it doesn't last long. And especially just to consider monastic life, to become a monastic, such a amazing thought, amazing action to do, to set ourselves on the path to awakening. But let's remember that we do that to repay the kindness of all the sentient beings, without whose kindness and efforts we couldn't stay alive. We wouldn't have any knowledge. We would be rather incapable of doing much without others teaching us, guiding us, providing the four requisites so that we can stay alive. So with an awareness of ourselves as a dependent phenomena, and our opportunity is also dependent. And because it's conditioned, it's impermanent. So let's make the best use if we can, that we can now, and really aim for full awakening. So where we left it yesterday was, before I start that, I wanted to add something to Venerable Jigme's very nice BBC today, because she's so kind, and she talks about, the support of the community and, working out our issues and helping each other, and, the benefits of the community life in such a very gracious way. And when she was saying how the community helps you grow and overcome the 8 worldly concerns, which are such a big hindrance to the practice and the attainment of realizations. And she was going into the ways that the community does that. And my first thought was, well, yeah, the community helps us get over the 8 worldly concerns because we can't do whatever we like here. In other words, our 8 worldly concerns get frustrated. Yeah. When we live in community, there's a schedule, and I tell everybody who lives here that nobody likes the schedule. Everybody wants to change it. And so just get used to it. Yeah. Nobody likes the way the kitchen is run. This person wants more protein. This person wants more starch. Somebody else wants less carbs. Somebody else likes sugar. Somebody else wants crackers. None of us agree. So get used to not liking the food, or liking it, but it not being exactly what you would prefer. And, the third thing is the chanting, the ceremonies. You want something to do a puja slower. Somebody else wants it done faster. You like doing pujas. Somebody else doesn't like doing pujas. They would rather have silent meditation. So it's just, you live in a community, and you're not going to have things your way. And that's another way in which she, being so gracious, didn't point that out, but leaves it to me to point those things out. Yeah. And it's really true, because you live with other people, so you have your preferences, but other people have their preferences. And then you have the whole thing of having to take care of the community as a whole, which goes on way beyond any one person's preferences. because we're trying to live according to the Vinaya, and we're trying to, develop a monastic community. So our preferences and our likes and our dislikes are going to get in the way, and we're going to constantly bump up against them. Okay? And as we try to make our likes and dislikes known in the community, people say, "That's very nice, let's go on." And you make a suggestion on how to change things or what we should do that you think is fantastic, and people say, "Thank you for your suggestion, we'll consider it." Right. When I said suggestion, it meant you're supposed to do this. No. Okay. So, when you live on your own, you can get up when you want, you can go to bed what you want, you can eat when you want and what you want, and you can even choose when to go to the doctor and when not to go to the doctor. When you live in the community, your business is everybody's business. And if you're sick and you don't go to the doctor, people say so. And if you think you're sick, but other people don't think you're so sick, then they also say so. So, so this is very good for overcoming the 8 worldly concerns, because we see them, our 8 worldly concerns, they're in our face all the time. Yeah. We work very hard at our job, whatever our job is in the community, and nobody says thank you. Or if they say thank you to somebody else who you think is doing a creepy job, not as good as the job you're doing, where nobody acknowledges you. And then you look at somebody else, and they can sit still in meditation longer than you, and you get so jealous. Oh. Or somebody else can cook the noodles better than you can, and you get jealous. And people praise that person's cooking, which isn't nearly as good as your cooking. You look puzzled. So it's, does this happen, community members? Yeah. So this is how life in community helps you grow, and why Venerable Jigme said it's a fast track to help you overcome the 8 worldly concerns. Because also the community holds you responsible. Yeah, holds you accountable in ways that we would prefer that people didn't. Okay? And, like if everybody is working on a project and you don't feel well that day, it's so interesting that you don't feel well that day. We had one person living here, she was a lay person. She loved to meditate. But it was amazing. She would get these migraine headaches during offering service time. But by the evening meditation time, she felt fine again. Yeah? Then we have other people who don't want to meditate, who don't feel well during meditation sessions, but they're fine during offering service time. Okay? Right? You thought we didn't notice. Yeah, but one woman who wanted to come live here, she wound up choosing not to, but she had lived at Shasta Abbey for a number of years and was a postulant there, and she told me that often when she just needed a break from everybody, she would not feel well. You know? She didn't say, I need a break or I need some time or something. She would just get sick. And she admitted it. Yeah. But, so this, people will say something. And then sometimes we're quite embarrassed. It's like, oh, they weren't supposed to notice that about me. And then you realize that the community is about being transparent. And we live with each other, and we know each other's problems, we know each other's habits. We can't hide. We try to hide. Yeah. But we can't. And so then you just have to, your attachment to praise, your attachment to your reputation, at least in the community, you have to give up. Yeah, because as much as you try and create an image, if you have a big nose, people see your big nose, no matter how much you pretend to have a small one. Yeah, or deny that you have a big one, or focus on other people's big noses. Okay, so so this is all ways in which living in community helps us. Mm-hmm. And it's not always what we want, is it? But what we like isn't always conducive to the Dharma. Yeah? So we came here to practice the Dharma. And, sometimes people will say, but. And then, we have to say, did you come here to get your way, or did you come here to practice the Dharma? Yeah? What is your motivation for being here? If it's to get your way, there's the whole rest of the world where you could try and get your way. The rest of the world won't always cooperate. You won't get your way there either. Yeah. But here, we don't try and frustrate each other. But it's just because you live together and you operate together and you have to do things together as a community. And so that's the difference between being a community and being a boarding house for monastics. Yeah, if you're a boarding house for monastics, you have your own space, you do your own thing, you come and go when you want to, you have your own kitchen in your room, you do what you want. But when you live in a community, things are shared, and we function together as a unit for a particular purpose. And so that means that sometimes our individual likes and dislikes are not what's important. So sometimes it's helpful, when you sit down to read one of the Mahayana sutras, they always set the stage. And there's the Buddha or one of the great bodhisattvas and thousands of bodhisattvas around. And then somebody asks a question, and then somebody else gives an answer and delivers a Dharma talk. And, you don't, when you read it, you can't imagine these bodhisattvas sitting in this group and somebody asking a question and everybody else going, what a stupid question. Or when, the Buddha's giving an answer, they're thinking, I've worked so hard helping so many sentient beings, and this Dharma talk is just going on forever. How can I get out of here? if you think of what it's like with the Buddha surrounded by all the bodhisattvas, everybody's on the same page, working together in the same direction. And so that's what we're trying to do as a community, is everybody work together in the same way, So if there's some bodhisattva in that Mahayana Sutra who is grumpy that day, they don't kind of interrupt the Dharma talk and say, I'm in such a bad mood today, can I be excused? Or they don't list the bodhisattvas who didn't come to that Dharma talk because they don't feel well that day. Or, so it's the whole thing of everybody working together for a purpose that goes beyond what any individual can do. Yeah. And that's another, I think, benefit of being in the community, is that as an individual, how much can we do? Yeah. But when there's a community, the community can do a lot. For example, if you want to receive a certain teaching, as one individual, how often do we have the karma to request a teaching and have that teacher give it to us? But if you're part of a community and the community requests the teachings, then it's the combined good karma of everybody in the community that will draw the teacher there. As one individual, difficult for us to have enough good karma to draw the excellent teachers to teach us. But the community together can draw that. Yeah. And different projects that we want to do. I mean, there's so many virtuous ways to help sentient things. There's so many things we want to learn and to study. Yeah, difficult to do that if we're just one person living alone. But you live with the community, then you can do so much. Yeah. So it's really kind of beautiful. And then you learn to rejoice at what everybody else does. Yeah, because you can see, I mean, the Sangha goes out in many directions, We have the UU class. We're about to have some classes at Riverside High School. We get invited to speak at a hospital. There's an earth... Huh? The Vets for Peace, they've asked us. There's an Earth and Spirit Festival on the environment. People ask us. There's, counteracting the smelter. There's like so many things involved, and we receive so many invitations. And one person can't go to all these different places. Yeah? So we spread them out, and then everybody, who wants to has a chance to do this. And then the needs of all these sentient beings gets fulfilled. And although we aren't the person who's going, we can rejoice that somebody from the community is going. Yeah? And we're talking about building a big Buddha hall. As one individual, can anybody build a Buddha hall? Impossible. So everybody has a part in it. Everybody does a certain job. We cooperate, and then you're able to have a Buddha hall. I mean, that's how Chinresi Hall got built. Or if you're in Gautami, everybody cooperates in one way or another. Yeah. So to do that kind of cooperation within the community, it means overcoming sometimes our own preferences, our own desires, what we feel like doing on any particular day. Yeah. But when you have in your mind the end goal, then it's really beautiful. Yeah. If you're working in a company, yes, as a lay person, you need to cooperate with everybody else on the different teams. But what's your motivation there? And what's the ultimate goal of the company? Yeah, it still involves cooperation, but your motivation is to keep your job and make some money. And what's the goal of the company? Make a lot of money and please the stockholders. Yeah, but so it's a different way of working within a group. Where everybody has a very different mind state and is working together for that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so so the prayer that we say together in the morning, that of course I can never remember it, even though I say it every day, about conflicts. What is it? Just ideas and ways of thinking things will arise. Yeah, will arise. But we do not need to make those into conflicts. Yeah? In other words, yes, it's totally natural. We have different ways of doing things, different ideas. But we don't need to fight about them. Yeah? And we don't need to attach our ego to our ideas and our opinions. Because if we do, boy, we're going to be miserable. Yeah. So you get used to, okay, I have this idea, I have this opinion, I put it out there. Sometimes the group likes it, sometimes the group doesn't. But my idea and my opinion is not me. Yeah. And if the group doesn't like my idea, that doesn't mean they don't like me. But then you watch your mind so attached. That's my idea. I had this way, this idea of where to put the spatula in the kitchen. You'll hear us talk a lot about the spatula, and I know where to put the spatula, and other people don't agree with it. And we get attached to our idea, and then, we're miserable. So we learn, yes, I can put things forth, and yes, I have to let them go. Unless you think that the community is making a huge, huge, detrimental decision that will absolutely have long-term negative effects. Yeah, then you don't, go along with it. But if it's something that's not going to have long-term negative effects for the whole community, then you learn to let things go. Yeah, because you learn that your ideas are just blips of energy. And tomorrow, even, you would probably think something else and have a different idea anyway. Yeah, so don't get attached to this one. I better be quiet now. But this is really, how we grow. And it's quite beautiful. And yes, Venerable Jigme, we have seen you change. It's very obvious. Okay. So, we left off yesterday. I was setting the stage for the ordination by inviting all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come to the place and, doing the incense offering. And so just, again, being part of a community, chanting together, we're a community, inviting the community of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then all the Buddha bodies, the 4 Buddha bodies, they're manifesting here. Yeah. And you feel that, you're surrounded by all these holy beings. And here we are, we're about to do, in this case, we're about to do an ordination. And we want them to witness it because it's something very special. Every 2 weeks when we do the posada, the sojung, we do the same thing. We invite all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come, and we do our confession and restoration precepts. Okay, so everybody's in the hall now, and then the guide takes the candidate for ordination in front of the Upajjhayaka, or the Upajjhaya, which is the preceptor. And the guide says, child of a good family, okay? Well, I'll read the whole verse and then explain it. Child of a good family, according to Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching, the 5 bodies of the Buddha are accomplished by depending upon a teacher whom you should serve sincerely. In the conventional way of requesting a teacher, you should speak on your own. I am concerned you might not know how to do this, so now I will guide you. And then the guide helps the candidate, says something phrase by phrase of where the candidate requests the Upajjhaya to be their teacher, which we'll do in a minute. So this one starts out, child of a good family. In other words, you're in the Buddha's lineage. You're in the family of the Buddha. Yeah. So it's already, you're there. You're a child of a good family. And, according to Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching, the 5 bodies of the Buddha, okay, so we, there's different ways of doing the 5, but one way, if you do 2 bodies of the Buddha, you have the truth body, the Dharmakaya, and the form bodies, okay, the Rupakaya. And the Dharmakaya can be divided into 2. Yeah, the wisdom truth body, which is the omniscient mind of the Buddha, and the Svabhavikakaya, the nature truth body. Yeah. The nature truth body can be again divided into 2. Yeah. And one is the emptiness of the Buddha's mind. Yeah. And the second is the true cessations of the Buddha's mind, which is the emptiness of the Buddha's mind that is free from all defilements. Then, so there you have 3 of the 5, and then the form bodies, you have the Sambhogakaya, the enjoyment body, where which the Buddha manifests in to teach the Arya Bodhisattvas, and the emanation body, which is the form the Buddha appears in to relate to us regular sentient beings. Okay, so the 5 bodies of the Buddha are accomplished by depending on a teacher that you should serve sincerely. So we're not going to get realizations without depending on a teacher. Yeah. And if we need teachers to learn typing, and we need teachers to learn how to drive a tractor, we definitely need teachers to learn how to become a Buddha, which is much more difficult than driving a tractor or typing. Okay? And so I think that's important for us to realize, because sometimes we come into the Dharma, I can do it alone, our Western kind of independence. I can do it alone. I'll take a little bit from this, and I'll take a little bit from that. Lama Yeshe used to call it making soup, and we invent our own spiritual path. In other words, we cherry pick among the teachings, and we practice what we like, and we ignore everything else. Okay? So, the 8 worldly concerns that we can easily give up, we emphasize those, but the 8 worldly concerns that we don't want to give up, we ignore. Okay, that kind of thing. But we want to invent our own path. And here it's really saying, we need to follow the Buddha's instructions that have been handed down to us. Yeah, unless you think that you're wiser than the Buddha, in which case you can lead yourself, but in which case you wouldn't have to lead yourself because you would already be a Buddha. Okay? And you serve the teacher sincerely. Yeah? So yesterday I spoke about how the teacher has commitments to the disciple, but the disciple has commitments to the teacher too. and to serve the teacher because you really sincerely want to help and you want to show your appreciation, not because you have to. And so sometimes in serving the teacher, you may be asked to do things that you don't like to do. Yeah, but the whole thing is, and this again is a strong point of community life, it's not what we do, it's our motivation for doing it. So if you're asked to do something that you don't like, instead of sitting there and being grumpy about it, oh, why do they always ask me to do this? I don't like to do it. It's not fair. Yeah, they always pick on me and give me the difficult things to do. Whether you enjoy something or not depends on your thought. So if you're asked to do something you don't normally like to do, change your thought. Yeah, and that's what practicing Dharma is all about. Yeah, it's all about transforming what we think, so that we have, more realistic attitudes, more beneficial behavior, and so eventually we can go beyond thinking into direct realization of the nature of reality. But in the meantime, we need to learn how to be happy people. And we think happiness comes from outside. And that's why we're always frustrated, because we can never get the outside world to cooperate with what we want. But when we realize that happiness comes from our own attitude, then when we're unhappy, we know we have to stop and change our attitude. Yeah? So in this case, instead of, oh God, I have to go serve my teacher, I'm so exhausted, why do I have to make another cup of tea? Why do I have to clean the toilet? Why do I have to write more letters? Why do I have to help these sentient beings who come here? I don't want to do this. Give me a break. And if you have that attitude, no matter where you go in this universe, you will be miserable. Guaranteed. Whereas, if whenever that kind of attitude comes up, if you change it and you say, I get to offer service. I get to do something kind for people. Or, wow, again, my plan for today got blown apart. Fantastic. This is so good for me. That's one of the difficulties people have. And everybody goes through it. You have a plan for the day, what you're going to get accomplished. In your regular life, you have your list, right? Everything you're going to do today, and you want to check it off, get these things done. And then, we have our stand-up meeting in the morning. We say what we're going to do. 5 minutes later, something else happens. Our plan is out the window, And at first, it's like, wait a minute, I can't stand this. Things are turning on a dime. Can't we have any stability here? You remember? Yeah. Some of the older people who have been here, in the beginning, people were screaming about this. Well, not screaming. Almost screaming. It's like, can't we just stick to what we said we were going to do? Why does it have to change? Well, what was the Buddha's first teaching? Impermanence. Why are things impermanent? Because they depend on causes and conditions. Means they don't stay the same, not even for a nanosecond. So our plans, are out the window because some cause and condition came together and produced a result that we didn't expect, and we have to adjust to it. So you can either, get frustrated, or realizing how much you get attached to these things, say, oh, good, it happened again. My plan was blown apart. Now I have another opportunity to learn to become flexible. Yeah? And the ability to be flexible is an incredible ability because it means you can adjust to things very quickly, instead of remaining stuck and unhappy. And since death is definite, but the time of death is indefinite, the time of death could happen like that. And we have to be able to change gears very quickly. Yeah. And so when our plans for the day get blown apart, it's really good practice for, at least the first thing that we're going to have to do when the time of death is approaching, which is, well, I had a plan for today. I had a plan for the rest of my life, but I have to rewrite my plan. And nobody asked me. Yeah? When things, when you study kind of management and stuff like this, they always emphasize that when decisions are made that concern somebody, it's good to bring that person into the discussion. And so they have some input about decisions that concern them. So that makes sense. It's a wonderful management technique, and it helps people cooperate. But at the time of death, as we're going along, the Lord of Death doesn't kind of bring us into the decision and say, I've been thinking about, it's almost time for you to die. What do you think about doing it today? And you say to the Lord of Death, actually, I have a pretty busy day today. Can we reschedule? Yeah? That would be nice, wouldn't it? But that's not how it works. Yeah? When death comes, it's there. And we got to pay attention. Yeah, we have to pay attention right then. So having our plans blown apart is good practice for, being able to pay attention to something. Even though when people come in my room, I'll acknowledge this, when you come in my room and I'm working on the book and it's really, I'm in a complicated, difficult place, I'll say, please can you hold on until I finish this paragraph? Yeah, but when the time of death comes, I'm not going to be able to say that to the Lord of Death. I need to finish this paragraph. Actually, I need to finish the whole manuscript. Yeah, actually, I need to finish the whole series. Can you hold on a while? That's not going to work. Okay. So then, again, then the disciple makes the request that goes, virtuous one, please listen. I, disciple, and you say your name. Now, and so you're addressing the Upajjhayaka at this time. Now request the virtuous one to be my Upajjhaya. May the virtuous one be my Upajjhaya. By relying on the virtuous one, I will shave my head, go forth, and receive the Shramanera ethical restraint. Please accept my request with great compassion. So here we're coming in, we're requesting. Yeah, learning how to request is a very important thing to learn. And it's very different from our how we've learned to be as consumers. Yeah, we've all learned to be consumers, haven't we? Consumers don't request, they demand. Yeah. I want this product. I want it now. Why hasn't it arrived? It's broken. What you need to fix it. I want to return it. Yeah. Consumers are taught to demand. Yeah. Here we are entering the Sangha, we have to request. It's a totally different mind state. And the request has to be made sincerely. It's not a phony baloney request of, I feel like getting ordained, and your role is to ordain me, so, yeah, come on, do it. That's not the idea. We have to learn some humility. I'm asking for something that's really, really precious. And I can't demand it. I have to be humble. I have to be sincere. I have to really mean this. Yeah? And I have to make myself a worthy candidate. I can't just march in and say, I want this ordination. Yeah? It's like, I have to make myself a worthy vessel. Yeah? Which means, I have to learn how to overcome, at least start to overcome some of the 8 worldly concerns. I have to learn a little bit about restraining my senses. Yeah, learning to cooperate, not always getting my way. Yeah, I need to come into this with an attitude of somebody who really sincerely wants to learn and is an open vessel and who has been doing, what they can beforehand to prepare themselves for this. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect disciple. Yeah, but it just means we have to be sincere. Mm-hmm. So some people yesterday in the discussion were saying that, one question is, well, how do I know when I'm ready? Yeah. And so sometimes we have this idea of, oh, when I'm ready, then I've got to be like this and this and this. And I'm already, I've got to be the quality of Subhuti, or, Upali or Mahapajapati or Upalavana. I've got to be like them. And then I can request. And no, we just have to be sincere and open and wanting to learn. We don't need to be perfect. If you were perfect, you wouldn't need to take the precepts. Yeah. Why do we request precepts? Because we need help, because we're not perfect. Okay. Okay, then the person goes to the acharya, the instructor, and makes a request to the instructor also. So you have to request the preceptor, you have to request the instructor. And then the instructor gives a long talk. So this is one of the things I really want to emphasize here and explain. Okay, because this is the kind of thing that they tell you in the ceremony that you don't have time to think about. Yeah. So, child of a good family. So already you're being a justice, child of the good family. You're part of that, the Buddhist family. You will now have your head shaved and leave your family. That's the first thing the acharya says to you. You will now have your head shaved and leave your family. So that's the first thing you have to do. Shaving your head, is stands for leaving the family life, going from householder life into a homeless life. Okay? So lots of people ask us why we shave our head. Especially the women, they ask the women, why do you shave your head? And it's a sign of renunciation, We're taking away what is superfluous, because our hair is often something that we can be very vain about. Yeah, and men too. It's not just women. Men dye their hair now. Yeah, they go to stylists, but our hair, we want to comb our hair the right way. We want to have it be the right style. We want to look good, okay? Because we have this belief in our society that if you look nice, people will be attracted to you. Yeah. Forget about being an ethical person and being a good person and being beautiful inside. Everybody's trying to be beautiful on the outside. Yeah. So when I go to speak in high school classes and they ask me why we shave our head, I always tell them, because I'm trying to be beautiful inside. I'm not trying to be beautiful outside. Because if people are going to like me, they're going to like me because of what's in here, not because of my hairdo or my clothes. So this is so totally against society, isn't it? Because every culture you look at, people decorate their body, the men and the women. Yeah, you decorate your body. You do something with your hair. You try and make yourself look attractive. Yeah, but we neglect the real thing that should attract people, which is the kind of human being we are, which is not visible by looking at somebody's face or their clothing or their jewelry or the color of their hair or the way they have makeup or anything like that. Okay? So when we shave our head, we're saying, I'm going to try and be beautiful inside. I'm not going to try and impress people by how I look. Okay? So that can be a big thing. That can be a big thing. Before I ordained, I had hair down my waist. It was beautiful. Many people said so. Even though it wasn't straight blonde hair like I was supposed to have in high school. But anyway, and it'd take me years to grow my hair out to my waist. Yeah. And I thought, so great, I love this. Trying to pretend I was like somebody in the commercials, It never worked, And for me, cutting my hair was a huge thing. I cut my hair short, months before I ordained. But just getting to the point where I could cut my hair, that was huge for me because my hair symbolized all sorts of stuff. Yeah? And so cutting it was a big deal. Yeah. For other people, cutting their hair may not be such a big deal. It depends. But I knew one man, and he had scar. What was it? Something with the plates on, the skull. Something wasn't exactly the way he would like it. And he was not going to ordain because he wanted to keep his skull covered with hair. Yeah, I thought, oh, what a tragedy. He wound up ordaining, and he's a very good monk now. But, when I first heard him say that, I thought, okay, so you're now going to shave your head and leave your family. Okay? So instead of being beholden to your family, you are now going to work for the benefit of all sentient beings. Instead of trying to enrich your family, you're going to try to enrich the Buddha Dharma. So it's a big shift here. You should, the Acharya continues, you should generate an expansive mind. First, look up to the Buddha as the exemplar and proceed on the Buddhist path. Then regard sentient beings and educate them. If you practice like this, the Buddhas will descend, bless you, and cause Dharma nectar to flow into your mind so that you will have the seed of awakening forever. So look up to the Buddha as our role model, who we want to be like. follow the Buddhist path. Look at sentient beings as the people who help you, who have been kind, and educate them, care for them. Yeah. And if you practice like this, it says the Buddhas will descend and bless you. It doesn't mean the Buddhas are going to all come here. Okay. But having your mind blessed or transformed is, the Buddhas don't have to be here in the space in front where you see them. Okay? But what it means is it will transform your mind forever so that you have the seed of awakening in your mind stream, and that seed can grow and blossom. The Acharya continues, practice diligently. Leave behind mundane worries. Wow. Okay, that's another one that should go on the bathroom window. Yeah, leave behind mundane worries. Yeah. I'm so worried this isn't happening. What if I do this? This person won't like me. What if I do that? That won't get me all I want. I don't know if I have enough money for this. I don't know if that person has enough money. Oh, this is so bad. What am I going to do? We worry so much about so many things. So Acharya is saying, leave behind your mundane worries, because they only have to do with this life. And what's more important, this life or future lives' liberation and awakening? Okay? So the answer is the latter. Yeah? Because this life, we're not sure how long it's going to last. And even if it lasts long, in 100 years, we'll all be gone. And less than that, probably. And so the purpose of this life is to make preparation so that we can continue to practice the path and actualize our spiritual goals. Yeah. So all the things we worry about, let them go. We have to be practical. I'm not saying, do some kind of weird ascetic trip where you don't care anything about anything practical. You have to be practical, but don't worry about it. Okay, just do what you need to do and realize nothing's going to be perfect, and then you'll be okay. Dedicate the good deeds of bowing and doing recitations to your parents. Okay, so, if you're attached to your family and you're concerned about leaving them, not having the same kind of close relationship you had, what they're telling you to do is, do the good deeds of bowing, recitation, meditation practice, and dedicate the merit for your family members. And that will benefit them. Because even if you go and try and please your family, we all have families, right? All of our families have expectations of what they would like us to be like. Do you fulfill your family's expectations? Is there anybody here who has fulfilled their parents' expectations? My mom said that too, but she had a certain way I had to be happy. So, if we look, it's very difficult to make our family members happy. Very difficult to fulfill their wishes. Depending upon what they want, some of them, they all want grandchildren, right? Yeah, they all want you to have kids because they want grandchildren. They want to continue the family lineage. Yeah, they all want you to have a career and make some money so that you have financial security and don't wind up with a shopping basket on the street. Okay? Because this is what they consider happiness. And they want us to have that happiness. And they also want us to have everything they didn't have. Yeah? Many of us, our parents grew up during the Depression. Others of us, our parents grew up during the Second World War. Others, your parents grew up maybe during the Vietnam War. Yeah. And so, your parents went through difficulties. They want you to have a life that didn't have the problems that they had. I mean, they love their kids. They want their kids to have that. And then we grow up and we say, but I don't want to do things that way. And then you feel guilty because you're not fulfilling what your parents want. Your parents are unhappy. And then you feel guilty, and then you say, okay, I really should try and become what my parents want. And you're this round peg, and you're trying to fit yourself in this square hole, and it doesn't work. And even if you transform yourself into a square hole, a square peg to fit in that square hole, your parents, your family still will not be happy. Yeah. It is impossible to make other sentient beings happy. Yeah. Impossible. They will be pleased at one thing, and the next thing you do, they will be unhappy about it. Okay? You're seeing that, huh? And she worked very hard to try and make her family happy. Yeah.
Because I finally saw that, because even if I did everything that I thought would make them happy, even if I did that, I'd still find other things to be unhappy about. And so it's like a no-winning situation. Because I could jump all kinds of hoops, twist myself in this way and that way, and in the end, there was always something else to complain about, something else that was not working right, something else to be displeased about. And it's like I finally had to say, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. And then you want to tell them the story with your daughter and your daughter's magic words.
Yeah, so I went to visit my daughter in May. Yeah, in May. And I was trying to just be like I usually was and try to give her advice and try to just give her a few suggestions here and there. And trying to see how her room was and what things she needed in her room so that it could be more comfortable. And so it was a day and a half that I got there, just a day and a half, and she said to me, "Mom, you're driving me crazy." And it's like, okay, I get the point.
Yeah.
I was finally in a space where I could hear it without feeling hurt, and where I could hear and realize that she was telling me something, that she was trying to really say, "Mom, I've grown up. I'm an independent person. I live by myself. I do things my way, and that's okay." And I need to be able to say that to myself. Yes, she's okay. This is okay. And that took so much work to get just to that point. Yeah. And the other thing that I found that is important, that also happened in May, and I don't know to what extent is a thing for some of you, and that is that I was holding on so tight to this idea of wanting to have my family's support, particularly my daughter's. I wanted so much to hear her say, "I support you, Mom. I know, I understand what you're doing, and I'm not angry with you anymore." And I just thought that I couldn't be happy without hearing that. And then in May, when I went, it was very clear from our conversation, my daughter and I, that was not going to happen. She was not going to say that she supports me, and she was not going to say that she's not angry at me anymore. And at that moment, I realized, you know what? I don't need her to say those things. I don't need her. to say that she supports me, and I don't need her to say that she's not angry with me, because I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it's much more important that I support myself in this choice, and it's much more important that I am happy with what I'm doing. And that's really the core of the issue, you know? So it was a big aha moment,
Yeah. And I think that's important to understand, because, you know, we always want to please people and make people happy. And then we wind up stifling ourselves, you know? And if our motivation is really to be of long-term benefit to sentient beings, we're going to help them, our family, much more by practicing the Dharma and dedicating for them and being able to help them in future lives. Even they don't want to learn the Dharma this life, in future lives we'll be able to teach them, than in, you know, trying to please them in this life. Yeah, you have kids, they still, you know, want this and that. You have their career, they want you to do something else. You make a certain salary, they would love if you made some more. They want you to go on cruises. You hate cruises. They want you to go backpacking in the mountains. You don't want to do that. You know, there's so many things your family wants. Yeah, and then they give you money, they give you presents, you feel beholden to them. And your mind gets completely tangled up with guilt and obligation, and we can't see things clearly at all, like what is beneficial in the long term for ourselves and for others. Okay, so that's why the Acharya is saying here, you know, you will now have your head shaved and leave your family. This is, you know, what's being emphasized. Okay, repay the kindness of your country by means of the merit created by practicing. Okay? So, you know, we're supposed to, patriotism in the U.S. is a big deal now. Okay? I don't buy into the patriotism that some of the politicians have, but this kind of patriotism I think is good. Repay the kindness of your country by means of the merit created by practicing. Yeah. So if I can create merit, if I can teach good things to other citizens of the country, to me that's patriotism. You know, to me patriotism isn't, you know, that flag, I'm going to die for it. You know, I already got rid of that idea back in the 60s, you know. No, as far as I was concerned, nobody should die for a flag. It's a piece of paper cloth, you know. For this reason, the Sutra on Giving the Going Forth to Upasakas says, transmigrating within the three realms, one is not able to cut off attachment and bonds. Give up attachment and enter nirvana. That is the true repayment of kindness to your parents, teachers, relatives, friends, fellow citizens of the planet, and all sentient beings. Okay? So transmigrating in the three realms, the desire, form, and formless realms, you're not able to cut off attachment and bonds, because the whole environment that you're born into pulls you into attachment. Yeah. And, you know, we have the self-grasping ignorance that's created this notion of an inherently existent person. We have the self-centered thought that's made that person the most important thing in the universe. And then we have the environment around us that says, look out for yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is going to do it. And especially in Western culture, you know, capitalism, you know, the the success of the most competitive, beat out everybody else, sing your own praises, get that job, be the top notch, get the honors, get the fame. We have that all around us. So difficult to cut off attachment when you live in the middle of that. Yeah. And I know when I met the Dharma, of course there's the choice to ordain, to not ordain. I saw there was no way I could practice well being a lay person. No way I could do it. It was just I was too susceptible to everything that society was telling me. Society, family, So give up attachment and enter nirvana. That's a stark contrast, isn't it? You want to enter nirvana? Give up attachment. We have to give up attachment to the three realms and everything beautiful in them. Okay? And doing that is the true repayment of kindness. Yeah? Society, our family, our friends, they don't think of that as our repaying their kindness. But from a Buddhist worldview, that is the repayment of kindness. So what you see here is how important it is to have the Buddhist worldview. Yeah, we have to really understand how the Buddha sees the world, in terms of rebirth, in terms of karma, in terms of what is the actual cause of our difficult situation, in terms of how to cut off that cause, what path to do it by, what the result is. We have to understand that to actually practice. Yeah, we can't have just this desire, we have this image, I'm sure we all have it, of the pristine life of a person dedicated to spiritual practice. Yeah, do you have that image somewhere? Some floating monastic, so calm, so peaceful, so demure, in meditation all the time, who always speaks in a soft, gentle voice, and always says pleasant words. And they look so pure in their robes, and you want to be like that. Yeah? You have that image somewhere inside? Yeah, if only I could be like that. Okay. Well, it's not exactly like that. Yeah, it's not exactly like that. Yeah? I mean, repaying the kindness of sentient beings through our practice, it isn't by just plastering on some image of perfection on ourselves and trying to make ourselves look that way to other people. Yeah, because you can try and look holy, but if you're not, then there's holes in the facade and everybody sees them. Yeah, so it's not about looking holy. Yeah, it's about transforming our mind. And that can involve some very deep, it does involve some very deep work. Okay, so then the Acharya continues. You should know that those who go forth from household life to homeless life transcend worldly emotions and become the merit field of the world. Okay? So the merit field means those who others create good karma with. Yeah? You become the merit field. So if people support you in their practice, they create good karma. So that can be a difficult thing for us to accept. We like to be an individual who supports ourselves, who doesn't take charity. Yeah, that's the way we were raised in our culture. Yeah. But becoming a monastic means you make yourself dependent on the kindness of others. And that means that you have a responsibility to repay that kindness by keeping your precepts, learning, thinking, meditating on the Dharma. Okay? So you want to leave the homeless life, transcend worldly emotions, and become the merit field of the world. Thus, the king or the government is no longer able to make you a subject. Okay? So the government, society, doesn't have power over your mind. You can think whatever you want to. Yeah, you don't need to go along with the prevailing political views. You don't need any of that. You have total mental freedom. Yeah. So the king is no longer able to make you a subject. Parents are no longer to make you a child. Yeah, have you realized that you can be 20, 30, 40, 50, and in your parents' eyes, you're still a child? I remember my grandma telling my dad, when my dad was 60-something years old, to put on a sweater so he didn't catch cold. Yeah? Your parents will always make you a child. Yeah? But when you're a monastic, yeah, parents are no longer able to make you a child because you have left the home life. You aren't involved in their family dramas. And you will be worthy of respect and offerings from humans and devas. Okay? So if we practice well, we become worthy of respect and offerings. If you're a monastic and you think people don't respect you enough, that thought shows that you're not worthy of respect. Okay? What I find very interesting with the Western Sangha very often is people will say the lay people don't respect us. Yeah? But then those people want to live their own lives in their own flat with their own car and set up their own daily schedule and do everything their own way. And why should the lay people support you if you live like a lay person? If you have a TV, and all the latest gadgets and a really nice pad where you live in, why should the lay people make offerings to you if you're not trying to have a simple life? Okay? Why should people offer you respect if you're full of arrogance? Yeah, I once heard one bhikshuni say to somebody, you should respect me because I'm a bhikshuni. I thought, no, that's not the way you do it. Yeah, if you demand respect from people, then you're not respectable. Yeah, as a Sangha member, Lama Yeshe, I have such a clear memory of him, sitting there telling us, your job or your mantra should be, I am the servant of others, I am the servant of others, I am the servant of others. He picked up his hand and held his mala. I am the servant of others, I am the servant of others. This should be your mantra. Okay? So if you really try and be the servant of others, then you don't have to worry about people respecting you and helping you. Yeah. But if you say, look, I'm a monastic, and or I've taken higher ordination, or I'm doing this special thing, so people should respect me, yeah, and they should make offerings to me, and they should support me, and you have that attitude, that's not the right attitude. Yeah, we're renunciants. We're not we're not demanding children. Yeah. So it's very important to remember we are renunciants. And sometimes that's hard because the lay people sometimes are so generous. Yeah. Years ago, there was one woman, she wanted to give me a TV, because I didn't have a TV, and I don't want a TV, and I don't want to watch TV. And she wanted to give me a TV, and I kept on saying, no, 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 please give the money to somebody else who can use it. And she said, but I want to give you a TV, and I have to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, because I need to live a simple life. That's what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for luxury. Yeah. And so it's important for the Sangha to remember that, and especially as we're building, the Buddha Hall, it's like, oh, maybe I have a chance now for a single room. I heard they wanted to build single rooms on the bottom floor. I'm gonna get a single room, and then I don't have to share a room with some creepy other nun. Yeah. Then I'll have my own room, and then I can find some way. I know there's regulations in the Abbey that we can't buy our own stuff for our own room, but I'll find a way, because I saw this comforter that it's exactly what I want, and it's the right color. I want a powder blue comforter, and I want, a rug right outside, my bed, so when I get up in the morning, it isn't just the carpeting, it's like, on the carpeting, but there's this nice soft rug, and then I'll step on when I get out of bed, and I'll have exactly the kind of pillow I want, if I like flat pillows, I'll have that. If I like puffy pillows, I'll have that. And this comforter, then I'll have the mattress I want. Yeah, the kind of mattress. Then the light, the lamp, I want one of those new kind of lamps. Or, no, I don't like those new LED lamps. They're too bright. I want one of those old kind, that are so kind of antique-y with the right kind of shade and, these little figurines at the bottom. And, I'll get that kind of lamp for my room. And, and I'll really encourage, because now we're building the Buddha Hall, I want a private bathroom too. Yeah. I mean, as long as we're building single rooms, let's build our private bathrooms. So would you have your own room with a bath attached? Yeah. Then I don't need to go out and share the bathroom with other people, And then I can flush the toilet when I want to. Yeah, instead of read these signs that say save water, take short showers, don't flush all the time. I'll have my own bathroom. I can take a long shower. Forget the fact that we have wells and we'll run out of water someday. That doesn't matter. When I want a long shower, I will take one. Yeah, and then I can decorate the room just the way I like. I'm so excited we get to have single rooms now. But I'm really afraid that the harmonizers and the abbess are going to nix the idea. Because when those people started the Abbey, they thought that sharing rooms was good for training the mind. I don't think that's good for training the mind. It just makes you irascible and frustrated, Yeah, because your roommate, I've had so many roommates. This one goes to bed too early. That one stays up too late. That one snores. That one talks in her sleep. She recites mantra out loud in her sleep. It drives me crazy. Yeah. So, this isn't why we joined the Sangha. Okay? We joined the Sangha to train our mind. Yeah? Okay, if we train our mind, you will be worthy of respect and offerings from humans and devas. If you don't train your mind and you're just a demanding child, forget it. Yeah. And this is, one thing that I've seen very often with the Western Sangha, because they don't enter, there aren't so many monasteries where they can enter and get the training and hear about what a monastic mind is and what monastic behavior is. They never learn that. They learn all the precepts and they learn Madhyamaka philosophy, but just the thing of just how to tame the mind in daily life very often doesn't get taught. And then they wonder why the lay people don't support. Yeah. So it's this thing. If you're willing to give up your own trip and join a community, the lay people are much more willing to support a community than an individual. Yeah. If you're part of the community, yeah. The way we do it here at the Abbey, if you receive a donation because you are an Abbey member, that donation goes to the Abbey. You don't keep it personally. If your aunt or uncle or parents give you something, you can keep that. But, if you're teaching somewhere, if you're counseling even an individual, any kind of thing that you receive by virtue of being an Abbey member goes to the Abbey, and then the Abbey supports you. Yeah? And that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Because then we all contribute and we all benefit. Instead of, well, I went out and did this and they gave me that money and I'm keeping it for myself so that I can buy new robes where all the colors match. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, having gone forth and put on monastic robes, you should no longer pay homage to the king or to your parents, much less to common people. Nevertheless, you should remember that your parents gave birth to you and brought you up. Their kindness has been great. And that's really true. It's important to respect our parents, be aware of the kindness that they showed and everything that they did for us. Now the Acharya says, now sincerely bow to your parents and elder relatives and take leave of them. After that, come back and we will shave your head. And so then we have tablets in the back of the room with the parents' names, and the guide takes the person back there, and the person bows to their parents, and the Sangha chants,
transmigrating in the three realms, one is not able to sever attachment, give up attachment and enter nirvana. That is the true way to repay kindness.
Okay. So that verse is being chanted. There's a great meaning to that short verse, isn't there? Yeah, there's a lot to think about in that. Okay, questions, comments?
I really wish I had heard you talk about how to make a request in the first EML that I came to, because I had the exact experience you described where I was approaching it like, okay, this is what I want, give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even question it. It was like, this is how you do it. This is, if you're sincere about, well, you think you're sincere, you just kind of put it in the other person's face and say, give it to me. And at least, maybe in the work world, you had to really promote yourself and really be bold and what you want, what you like, and so I took that approach here, and it just totally didn't work at all. And I thought you didn't like me, and I was like, oh, this is awful. I don't know how to connect with the teacher, and she completely misunderstands me, and it became a whole doubting circle. But yeah, it was this element of humility and actually more like gratitude for the appreciation. And I guess when I first came here, I didn't have that. I mentioned yesterday I want to develop more appreciation for ordination, for the teachings, for sanghas, and that's something I think develops over time. So when you're fresh, you still don't really get it, and that kind of got in the way too. Is just being clueless a little bit about how precious this opportunity is. But yeah, that consumer attitude, it's very deeply ingrained. And I just hope that it's not like disrespectful on purpose. It's just kind of how we've been trained to operate. But it is, once you get a different perspective, you see how like kind of arrogant and pushy it seems.
So this is another good example of how you see how people change. Yeah, how you've changed since then.
It's not clear for me how to be dependent on others when you live in a place that it's not the habit, and people are not used with monastics. So
Yeah, it's something. If you have the opportunity to set things up, then you set it up that way. Yeah, so from the get-go, people kind of know how the situation is going to run. If you want to change the way that you do things, can you give me an example of something?
in fact, our teacher do that way because at the beginning, when he arrived in Quebec, a lot of people went to him and with all opinions and you should do that and that, and he didn't know the people. So in time he had to, he didn't feel free. So at the time that stopped, and he is more independent. So to be able to do the work he is doing. And so that's what he asks us also, to be independent in a way. And what I realized that I'm used to do everything that I can do and don't ask to people. And maybe in the last years, I realized that maybe people just don't know that I will need help. But I'm not used to ask people.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for me to find the balance.
Yeah, because we want to ask, and it depends what we're asking, We don't want to start, can you go buy me this? Can you go buy me that? That's not good. But when you're doing some kind of project for the Dharma Center or whatever, people like to help. They like to be involved, And so to ask them, could you help make the flyer? Could you set up the meditation hall? And teach people, at the beginning you'll have to teach people how to do things. But then it makes them more involved in the Dharma Center and in the community. Yeah.
But there is the opposite, that I've seen some nuns somewhere else that they just they say, because I'm a nun, everybody should do everything for me, and we don't work for money, so everybody should, and they don't do anything. So sometimes they get in trouble because they don't have money, they don't plan, and
Yeah.
that's the opposite.
Okay. So are you talking about our Theravada brothers and sisters, or?
Examples that I've seen in India when I
Uh-huh.
was there for
Okay.
ordination.
Some people have different ways of holding their precepts, and some people, like our Theravada brothers and sisters, the Westerners, are very strict about not handling money. Yeah, they're very strict about finishing lunch before midday. And so they've set up their communities like that. And then the lay people just get used to it because that's the way they've chosen to keep their precepts. So that's, how they do it in their communities. For an individual to do that, I remember there was one monk in Dharamsala at one point who did that. And he had people kind of supported him in giving him food and stuff like that, because they knew that he was choosing to keep his precepts that way. Personally speaking, I think we have to really adjust to the situation. Yeah. Here, for example, we can have private money, but it's restricted about what we use it for. Yeah. We can't just go out and get our favorite food or get this and that we want for ourselves. We can use it for medical, dental. We can use it for travel. We can use it for making offerings. Or for getting, medical, dental, you need vitamins or, stuff like that. But you can't, about clothes, everybody likes to have new clothes, and this is something that's difficult. We have to go and look in the community storeroom and get our clothes from there. Only if what we need is not already there, then, we put it on the wish list or something. But you don't go out and buy it yourself, because then, of course, you just, I want this color and this, and you go from one shop to the next, and yeah, it's a pain in the neck. Okay, so in a community, we do it like that. If you're an individual in a Dharma center, your situation, you're dependent on how your teacher already set things up. Yeah, it's what you can do. You can explain to the people who come to the center and say, I want to try and keep my precepts in a different way, and if people could help me, I would appreciate that. But I'm not demanding that you do that. So, for example, according to the precepts, we're not supposed to cook. But here at the Abbey, we cook, and we only eat the food people bring us, but we don't expect them to cook the meals themselves and bring everything to us already cooked, because that just doesn't fit with our society. Now, we don't have supporters who are, some groups, they have supporters where not everybody works full time. With us, most of our supporters, men and women, are working full time. We can't ask them to drive out here from Spokane, which is, hour and a quarter, hour and a half ride, just to bring us lunch and then go home. So, we have to cook the food ourselves, and that's fine. And I think, in many ways, we take care of ourselves. And of course, we could hire people to do a lot of the things that we do ourselves. But I think it's good that we learn to be responsible for the property and to maintain things ourselves and be responsible human beings. So, we mow the lawn. We depend a lot on volunteers. But, you can see with the forest work, we don't go out and hire a bunch of people from the outside to do the forest work. We couldn't afford it, one. And two, I think it's very good for us physically to be outdoors and work, and it's good for us to be responsible stewards of the land. Yeah, and not just to talk about preserving the environment, but to do something to do that. I don't know if that helps your situation much. Yeah. 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 Well, first you have to figure out how what kind of help you want and how you want to keep your precepts, and then be very clear on that yourself. Because you can't say, I'm only going to eat the food that's offered, and then when there's very little food or the food isn't what you like, then go out and buy it yourself. If you say you're only going to eat the food that's offered, that's what you eat. Yeah? So, okay. So let's dedicate.